So, the answer to the mysteries. A common inquiry on boat tours is, does the water level keep rising, or how much does the lake level vary? Well, the answer to that question we can find in this area. You see this big rock flow, or what was a lava flow, now rock above us, kind of looks like a pair of sunglasses, and below it there's all these broken up rocks, almost looks like gravel. And it's an area of glacial till. Talk about that in a moment, but there where the rocks are broken up and there's cracks where water can escape. So this seems to act as the lake's natural overflow drain. We call it the Palisades. The Palisades area continues along here. And so water seeps out, or specifically every year, approximately 34 billion gallons of water enter the lake from rain and snow. And every year, approximately the same amount exits the lake from evaporation and seepage. Most of the seepage takes place here. There are a few other scattered spots around the rim where water also seeps out. And where the water goes, no one knows for sure. We do know it's not the Rogue River, because look for that, but it's likely that it may go downhill down to the Klamath Basin somewhere. Some of the ranches and rural communities down there probably use a bit of Crater Lake water without knowing it. And as for how this area got broken up, well, back when Mount Mazama was 12,000 feet tall and looked sort of like Mount Rainier, like on Mount Rainier, glaciers traveled down it and cut and carved up the landscape. We look over to the other side of the rim, we see what look like two big bites taken out of the rim, those big grooves. Those Sun Notch and Car Notch, those are U-shaped valleys. Classic glacial valley. That's where a glacier plowed through and cut up the landscape, and similarly glaciers plowed through here and broke up and tilled these rocks, created the overflow drain. It's also notable we are near the zone of extremes. The widest point in the lake is from around here over to the other side of Wizard Island. And that brings up Crater Lake from the perspective of a champion athlete. What sort of athlete might challenge himself out here? Yeah, swimmer. The swimmer named Lee Fourier, I think around 1928, she became the first and to date only person in history to swim from one end of the lake to the other at the widest point. It took her about 4.5 hours. This was before wetsuits were around, so she covered herself with grease to stay warm. And she said that it was more difficult than swimming the English Channel because it was so cold. She also said she'd never do it again. And we are also not far from the deepest point in the lake. And I believe the weather buoy, which did get moved away from the deepest point by a winter storm, I think may have been moved back now. So if you saw the weather buoy earlier, it's close to the deepest point, or at the deepest point in the lake. It's kind of partway between here and Wizard Island. And a person has been there too, an adventuresome scientist. His name was Mark Buktenica. He's a National Park Service researcher. He piloted a small submarine called the Deep Rover all the way to the bottom of the lake. On the bottom he discovered hot pools, hydrothermal pools and vents where the water heated up from underground heat, warmed up to 66 degrees Fahrenheit, which is quite a bit warmer than the ambient temperature of 38 Fahrenheit down there. And growing around those vents and pools, he discovered colonies of gold-colored bacteria. These bacteria took their minerals directly from the water, mainly reduced iron. And also on the bottom, the scientists discovered eggs and larvae. Indeed. The eggs and larvae from a midge fly of the genus Heterotrissoclaudius, this tiny fly has an amazing life story. They lay eggs on the surface of the egg. The eggs sink to the bottom. Some even sink all the way to the deepest point, 1,943 feet down. The eggs hatch into larvae. The larvae live on the bottom for a few years, eating dead plankton and pine pollen. Then they begin a slow upward journey. And as they travel up, they transform, metamorphosize. They emerge at the surface as adult midge flies. Then that tiny fly has only a matter of days to fly around and get some eggs laid, and the eggs sink to the bottom, and the cycle continues. All right, we'll zoom back over towards Cleetwood Cove and conclude the tour around there. And that's the same way that you came in. Cleetwood Trail. It's 1.1 miles, 700-foot elevation change. So we sometimes say it's 1 mile down, but 10 miles back out. So we encourage you to take the hike at your own pace. Drink water before you start, and drink water on the way up. There's lots of nice benches to rest on the way up. It's not a race, it's anyone who gets it to the top is a winner, and everyone gets there eventually. All right. There are many ways of looking at Crater Lake. Today we have heard from the Klamath tribe, who see a sacred place of spiritual power, from geologists who see a unique opportunity to study the interior of a grand volcano. We've heard from biologists who are fascinated by the garter snakes on Wizard Island, as well as the lichens from botanists who are intrigued by the diversity of trees on the Phantom Ship, more intrigued still by the moss growing on the cliff walls. We've heard from an athlete who came to Crater Lake in search of a new and greater challenge. And we've heard from an adventuresome scientist who went to the bottom in a submarine. And we've heard from a tourist who was so amazed by Crater Lake that he decided it had to be a national park. He put forth a Herculean effort to make it happen. I think that all of these voices would agree on one thing: that Crater Lake is a very special place, worthy of our protection and preservation. And perhaps none are better suited to conclude our tour than the tourist, Will Steele. On his 72nd birthday, he said, "My heart bounds with joy and gladness, for I realize that I have been the cause of opening up this wonderful lake for the pleasure of mankind, millions of whom will come and enjoy it. Unborn generations will profit from its glories. Money knows no charm like this." Thank you, passengers, and enjoy the rest of your travels.